Today we're going to be doing third grade worksheet lesson 17. So let's start off by running the time. The shorter arrow is going to be pointing towards the hour, and the longer arrow is going to be pointing towards the minutes, which we multiply by 5. Number one, the shorter arrow is in between 12 and 1. So that means it hasn't reached 1 o'clock yet, which means it's 12 o'clock. And for the minutes, it passed the 9-minute mark, the 9 in the clock. So we would multiply 9 by 5, and that would get us 45. But we see that there's 2 ticks here the that the long hand reaches. So we would add 2 minutes. Number 1 would be 12:47. Number 2, the shorter arrow is pointing in between 4 and 5. So the hours would be 4. And we would multiply 5 times 7 to get the minutes because it's between 7 and 8, which is 35. But then it's pointing on the third tick from 7 to 8, which means we add 3. So number 2 would be 4:38. Number 3, we can see here that the shorter arrow is between 10 and 11. So the hour is 10. The longer arrow is after 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. Plus, it's pointing to the tick after the 5-minute mark. So one tick is 1 more minute, which is 10:26. Number 4, the longer arrow is pointing in between 9 and 10. So it's 9. And 5 times 3 is 15 exactly, because it's not between any of the numbers. Number 5, the shorter arrow is pointing in between 8 and 9, which means it's 8 o'clock because it hasn't reached 9 o'clock yet. And the longer arrow is in between 9 and 10. So we first multiply 9 by 5, which is 45. And the longer arrow is pointing to the third tick after 9. So that means we would add 3 to 45, which is 48. So number 5 is 8:48. Now, number 6, the shorter arrow is pointing in between 8 and 9. It's just barely reaching 8. So we would put 8 here. And it hasn't reached 2 in the minutes. So we would just do 1 times 5, which is 5. But it has reached a 4 ticks after 1. So we would add 4 to 5, which is 9. So the minutes is 9, which means the time would be 8:09. Now, reading and writing the time continued. Number 7, the time is the hour is in between 5 and 6, so it would be 5. And the minutes is exactly on 5, so we would just do 5 times 5. And that would get us to 25. Now, number 8, the hour is pointing exactly to the number 10. So it would be 10. And the minutes, it hasn't reached 1 yet, so we don't multiply anything by 5. Instead, we just look at the ticks. We see that it's pointing to the second tick, so it would be 10:02. Number 9, the shorter arrow is pointing between 12 and 1. And since it has reached 1 o'clock yet, it's still 12. And the longer arrow is between 5 and 6. So first we multiply 5 by 5 to get 25. And since it's pointing to the 4th tick after 5, we would add 4 minutes to get 12:29. Now moving on to finding the missing number. Blank hours equals 3 days. 1 day is equivalent to 24 hours. And since we're looking for 3 days, we would just multiply 24 by 3. And 4 times 3 is 12. And 3 times 2 plus 1 is 7. So 72 hours would equal 3 days. Number 2, 3 weeks equals blank days. 1 week is 7 days, and we're looking for 3 weeks. So just multiply 7 by 3, and that'll get us 21 days for number 2. Number 3, 4 years equals blank months. 1 year is equal to 12 months, and the problem is asking for 4 years, and we just multiplied 12 by 4. That'll get us 48 months. So that's the answer to number 3. Number 5, 5 weeks equals blank days. Again, 1 week is 7 days. And since we're looking for 5 weeks, we would just multiply 7 by 5, which is 35 days. Now, number 5, 5 years equals blank months. 1 year, 12 months. We need to find 5 years. So we would multiply 12 by 5. 5 times 2 is 10, and 5 times 1 plus 1 is 6. So 5 years equals 60 months. Blank minutes equals 3 hours. 1 hour is 60 minutes, and we're looking for 3 hours. So just multiply 60 by 3. That would get us 180. Number 7, 72 hours equals blank days. 1 day, 24 hours. And this time, instead of getting the information of days, we have the information of hours. So that's 72 hours. And 24 goes into 72 3 times. And since we multiplied 25 by 3, we would do the same to the days. So 1 day times 3 is 3 days. Number 8, 120 minutes equals blank hours. 1 hour is the same thing as 60 minutes. We have 120 minutes. And to get from 60 to 120, we multiply by 2. So we would do the same here to get 2 hours. And that's the answer for number 8. And that's all we're going to do for today.